Greetings, my name is Stu Darnley and I'm new to the role of Club Services VP. So new in fact that this is my first introduction, so grade me kindly. Today we're going to be hearing from Senor Bernardo Gonzalez Molina, who was born in Mazatlan, Sinaloa and spent a year in Germany as a part of the Rotary exchange program back in his heyday. His interest in helping expats in Mexico, living in Mexico, started back in 2006 when he was part of a team that put together mortgage lending for expats. That led him into real estate development and the wealth management industry. He now has an MBA and over 20 years of experience in the field. Bernardo and his family live in Los Cabos. He is an active Rotarian, very cool, and works as the Global Expat Service Director for Actinver Bank, where he manages over 70 financial advisors. He loves meeting people, which is lucky for him because he travels the world giving conferences. And in closing, I want to say that this Bernardo was brought to my attention by one of y'all who said, this is a great speaker, please have them. And you too can give me ideas on who you'd like to hear from because this whole program exists for you. Without further ado, we welcome Bernardo.
Hi, how are you? Well, first of all, congratulations. It seems that you have a great environment in your Rotary Club. Where I come from, we're about 20, 25 people, but it's not so pumped up as this here. Congratulations on the Sabia girls. I think girls in Mexico need a lot of help, so you're doing it, guys. So I will jump in my presentation because we have about 20 minutes. That's what I was told, okay? At the end, we will stop for some questions. I'm going to talk about some expat interesting data and also about banking in Mexico, okay? So Mexico has ranked top 5 since 2014 as to live in Mexico for expats, okay? So it's number 1, the best place for expats is 2023. Number 1 in ease of setting. Number 1, expats consistently enjoy local friendliness. We were talking about that a few minutes ago. They also have easy to get used to the Mexican culture. And, okay, one sec. Most find the local residents to be friendly, So this is a global study. I will give you the source of the data so you can access it. Also, finding friends is also no problem in Mexico. Affordability is a general trend in Mexico. I'm not sure about that anymore. Yeah, but it seems to be still there. There's still some towns that are cheap, but not San Miguel, not Los Cabos, not Vallarta, right? And also on the negative side, Mexico has ranked 45th in political stability. We know we had a very interesting year ahead. You've seen some Mexicans against the government, some for it, and we have some changes coming in that we talk about it in a few minutes, okay? And 90% of expats are happy with their life in Mexico compared to 72% globally, yeah? So this, just to wrap up, for me, this is, I started working with the expat community back in 2005, 2006. I even founded a mortgage company with some US partners. And we opened also in San Miguel back then. So I know San Miguel for many years. We were really close to when we opened, we were really close to the Ninja crisis, 2009. So it didn't last too long, but that's when I got to that. But this is very satisfying for, at least for me and many other Mexicans, because this is how Mexico is seen from the outside, Normally Mexicans, we have a very pessimistic idea of what Mexico is and how Mexico looks. But when you see what people think about Mexico and what's going on, what is really going on in Mexico, you'll be amazed, okay? So also about the peso, when you see the value of the peso has maintained the value and many, many things, we study markets, we study financial. What it tells us is what is the expectation for Mexico in the next years, yeah? If Mexico has lost a lot of value, or the peso has lost a lot of value in the past years, we could see maybe a catastrophic future, right? But what we're seeing right now is a lot of confidence from the markets and from outside Mexico. That will be amazing. I'll get into that data in 1 sec, okay? um, so Mexico right now is the biggest trading partner for the U.S. There you go. Thank you. It has gained control over China, in the last years. We don't really know how much Chinese merchandise is going through Mexico, but we are the first place partner right now, okay? And this is a lot to do with the nearshoring. Maybe you guys are familiar with the term, yeah? That is expanding production and setting up manufacturing facilities in countries that are geographically closer to the United States, such as Mexico, yeah? Before, with globalization back in 2002, 2003, what we were seeing was the offshore, that were companies going outside of their countries or getting away to get cheap labor cost or cost, okay? Back then, I graduated myself as an industrial engineer, and I work in the manufacturing industry for a few years. And what people were seeing was cheap Mexico, no? Cheap hand, cheap labor. Back then, I asked the Germans, well, what will be the natural evolution of a country like Mexico? And they said, after being a cheap labor country or a cheap place to hire people, what comes is that people start selling their intellect or their intelligence, not just their labor. Yeah. So I think that's happening a lot right now. We're also selling a lot of development and in the automotive industry and in the manufacturing industry still, but not just hands. We're selling research and development, or people is working in more intellectual stuff than just hands. Okay. This is the foreign investment in the first quarter of 2024 is record. It's a record investment, and you can see where the money comes from, okay? It's number one, United States with 52%, Germany with 9%, Canada with 8%. This is only the first quarter of 2024, and it's $20.3 billion, yeah? This is a lot. You can see the countries where it come from there, and also the brands. I thought it was interesting to see the brands. You see Toyota, Mazda, BMW, Bosch, also Mercado Libre from Argentina, yeah, from Brazil, not just from United States. And what was very interesting from 2023, last year in foreign investment, was that the profits, most of the profits stayed in Mexico, yeah. Before also the common practice was just to make money, get it out of the country, bring it to origin country, and just make the pockets bigger, like for the entrepreneurs. Right now, this is for us, this is a confidence sign. Even with an election year or before the election year, the money stayed here, the profits stayed here, and were reinvested in our country. Yeah, that tells us a lot also about competitive advantages and good business environment. Yeah, the leading sectors are automotive and auto parts, electronic, aerospace components, and medical devices. Mexico in economics. We have a 45.5% debt ratio to the GDP, very low compared to other developed countries. Record unemployment of 2.5%. This is a record low in Mexico. What is not so cool, is this a pointer? Yeah. Is, I don't know if you get the word informality, but it's 54.3% of the workers work outside the system. They don't have social security. They don't have Infonavit to buy a home. So there's a lot of work to do still on this side, okay? 3.2% of economic growth in 2023. Inflation 7.82 is not so nice, but still better than other countries in 2022. 4.66 in 2023. And we're aiming for a 3% goal in these next years. I'm not really sure if we're going to achieve it, yeah, but we're trying. But this is just to give you an outlook of how Mexico looks in numbers, okay? This is very important because you guys live here, you invest here, you have your money in Mexico, and I think this is important information for most of you. What has been supporting the peso is, one is strong capital investments that flow into Mexico. Like in the banking industry, before 2020, before the pandemic, a common user maybe will have $5,000 to $10,000 to spend in Mexico, the expat. Yeah. Right now, the average expat would have around 40 to 60,000 in their Mexican account, and this is also not taking into account what all the nearshoring money that is coming, and also remittances. Yeah, remittances is a big part of Mexican economy, and it accounts for around also 20 billion for a quarter. Tight monetary policy from Mexico Central Bank, which began to raise rates ahead of most other central banks in after the pandemic. So we actually had a rate decrease about 10 days ago, más o menos. And it was amazing because the peso was losing some value. Then the Mexican Central Bank decided to lower the rate, and then the peso gained value, you know. And when you lower the rate, the normal thing will be that the peso or the currency loses some value because it's going to be a cheaper currency. But this again, what shows us is that the markets see that as a good decision from Banco de Mexico, and they decided to premiar. Well, it's like an award for the market because when that happened, then people decided to buy more pesos, and then the dollar peso exchange went down. So it was crazy for us as financial advisors. We were expecting when the rate went down, the dollar value to go up, but it didn't happen. So markets moved with psychology. Okay, it's not a one-to-one rule. It's psychology, and what people see, then people react to that. So when people saw this, or companies or big money saw this, they say, you know, that's good. Let's go and put some money in Mexico. It's in minutes, you know. It's really crazy how it moves. And low levels of debt compared to other nations. Yeah, I mean, I get to meet people from all over the world. As you said, I'm in charge of the expat community or the expat strategy in Actinver. So I get to meet people. I mean, before was only Americans and Canadians. Now it's really Germans, Egyptians, people from Switzerland, from all over the world. You know, I run Cancun, Vallarta, Jijic, Mazatlan, Cabo, and San Miguel de Allende. So when I see or when I realize how people feel about the debt in their countries, I feel very happy we're in these low levels right now. Well, this is the US dollar against the peso from 2008 to 2024. Yeah, this is the big picture, 988 to 18.54, that's 87%. Yeah. This is this graph mostly is to show you that if you were invested in Mexican CETES, the CETES or the Mexican reference rate is designed not just to come up with inflation, but also come up with depreciation. Yeah. So this will be the same percentage in Mexican reference rate. This is from 2020 to 2024, so it's minus 28%. Yeah, so it's lower acquisition power for the dollar. So pre-pandemic 18.55, pandemic high 25.75, post-pandemic low 16.27. That was very, very low, and 2024 elections 18.55, 18.65 is running around there. Okay, this is just to show you, like for the U.S. peso or the U.S. dollar, since the pandemic, not much has happened, right? It's right where it was. So we're in the starting point right now. Politics, and I'm sure you know, but the wealthy Mexicans thought other parties had a chance to win the elections, right? Normally, our friends might be in a certain social scale or social place or economic also, that they would think that maybe other party had a chance. But if you see here, it was by, well, if we add this one with the other one, it's around 280 against 20, right? So it was amazing. So what's coming is some people think it's continuity, some people think it's about danger. We will have stability, yeah. We will have constitutional reforms that's just being put in place. So you all know these guys, right? So, and you know, people is really afraid of what's going on right now, and Mexicans are kind of on an uncertain point. If we see the macro picture and what's going on with Mexican economy, I would say there's not much danger, or people don't expect much danger. Okay, so there's some constitutional reforms about judges and some stuff, but what I've seen is the Mexican average worker or population will have some benefits in the retirement plans, in their income. We might have some inflation because they're going to rise the lower salary again at some point. but at the end, the benefit of the population, I think, is gonna be there. Okay. So a little bit about banking in Mexico, and you all been there. So it's all about long lines. No, you get to the bank, you take a paper, you wait 40 minutes, and when you get to the teller, maybe no one speaks English. They don't know. They cannot help you. You need to call 1-800 numbers. That's kind of like the same story everywhere. Okay. All the call centers as well. You need to dial 1-800 number. Then you dial the one, you dial the three, dial the four, the five. Then you don't get to no one at any time. It's really frustrating. Okay. Bureaucracy. Mexican banking has a lot of bureaucracy, not because bank wants, is because Mexican regulation is all for the user protection. So if the bank needs your physical signature, they need your physical signature. There's nothing else to do. They need to match your passport signature. You will be amazed of how many times we have people sign documents because it doesn't match. But the Mexican authority needs to make sure that it's the same person or same people that is signing. Okay. Also, you get to deal with a lot of human robots that gives you the same answer, yeah. And it's very hard to get a dollar account. You normally get a peso account, then you need to get your dollar account set up. And also the exchange rates. Normally, what I've seen in different transactions, people get ripped with 12, 15% with exchange rate, and that's very, very high. So I'll just give you a little bit of what goes on in Mexico, a little bit of how we manage it, so you understand. Yeah, sorry. So what we do different is everyone has a personal banker. You have a WhatsApp number, you have an email. This personal banker normally tells you when to exchange, and when you see the spread or between what you see in the internet and what you see in the phone, it's very low compared to other institutions. You also normally will have an investment portfolio. You'll be amazed, but on a daily basis or daily liquidity right now in Mexico, you're getting from 9.5 to 9.8% yearly. So it's a very nice rate. If you add that up to what the peso has made in the last years, then you probably made around 40, since 2020, around 48% on your capital. Just being invested in daily liquidity, yeah? Also, you're a phone call or an email away from make an operation. The logistic goes, normally people has an appointment with the banker, you get your things done. Um, you sit in a couch, you get a coffee, you have the Wi-Fi code, so it's very different. You can bring your dog, which is also different in other banks, you know, we're dog friendly, and no long lines. Okay, that's how we do things here. And this is not only for expats. Okay, that's how we do things in Actinver for everyone. Actinver was not designed to do like the nominal or the volume banking. It was designed to do investment banking, and then we went down the ladder to transactional and also personas morales banking. So we have the infrastructure for an investment bank, but we also can operate different type of accounts. Banking service usually have in Mexico is a checking account. A lot of people still carry cash from the States, from Canada, from many places. One is dangerous. The other one is you lose a lot of value when you exchange your fiat currency. Yeah, when you go to a store, or you go to a gas station, or if you want to pay with dollars, you will always see, well, dollar. You see the dollar in the internet is around 1850, and you say, well, we take dollars at 16. Come on, man. It's high, but that's how people make money. It's very expensive to transport cash. So it's not just because people want to charge money for the dollar, but it's very expensive to move cash from here to Mexico City, or imagine from Baja to Mexico City. And it's dangerous, it's security, so it's very, very expensive. Okay. A debit card, so you can make your payments and you can withdraw money in the ATMs. Electronic banking. A lot of foreigners have the impression that Mexico is a cash culture, but it's really not. Okay, it's cash with the tacos, it's cash with the store, it's cash with the candies. But when you go with a carpenter, when you go with albañil, when you go even with a muchacha, you can register them in the Social Security program, and it's very cheap, and it's also you can have some deductions there. But you can also pay through debit card, and that way you contribute to the Mexican tax system as well, and you can deduct your taxes in the States. We'll get into that in a few minutes. Also an investment portfolio, and you can have a loan advance. That is a good way to start a credit score in Mexico. Okay, we don't do mortgages in Actinver yet, but we do back-to-back loans or loan advance. In that way, you can start building a credit score in Mexico and then apply for many different mortgages in Mexico. Okay, sometimes it's not so attractive for you guys to get a loan in Mexico because rates are higher, like 13, 14%. Yeah, but these are peso rates. Okay, so it's very different. The same account, you can have pesos, you can have dollars, and you can have euros. So you don't need to open a special account for dollars. And if you want to hold another currency, you can buy an ETF from all the currencies in the world. Okay. When you choose a bank, you need to see that you can make wires back and forth from your homeland or your bank, your personal bank. When you do it with us, it's a domestic transfer because we own a concentrated account in the U.S. So you send money to the account in New York instead of sending money to Mexico. That is very different. Same day transfer, you can have different currencies, and exchange is not a must in a transfer, okay? Every bank will try to make an exchange when you send money to Mexico. That's where they make the most spread, okay? So try to be careful on that. Even if you bank wherever, try to bring your dollars when you send dollars, not to get exchange in there, because not even the branch control what the exchange rate is. It's just a surprise, okay? And believe me, there'll be many, many people very angry with this situation. Also, income tax on investment returns will be charged to your account in case you invest in Mexico. You should get a tax receipt from your bank and no double taxation. This means that you present your tax receipt with your accountant in the States, and that's taken in account whatever tax rate you have over there or in any other country, okay? You can invest in everything. Like here, the tax in Mexico for stocks is 10%. So when you sell, you get 10% tax instead of very different all over the world. You have investment funds, all types, stock market, fixed income is around 10%, currencies, derivatives, and ETFs. And this was of the presentation. If you have any questions.
We'll start with questions.
With this move to nearshoring, and I think most of it's being north of Monterrey, is there a coordinated effort to educate people to be able to be working in these new plants?
Well, in the north side of Mexico, the education level is very different. Let me get there, one sec. No es allá. ¿Te puedes ir al nearshoring? Ahí está. So the education level in North Mexico is very different from South Mexico. You know, you're kind of in the middle here in San Miguel. There is some effort from the government and also from private schools, but right now there is still a lack of people. You know, even I don't know here maybe not, but if you go north in Mexico, it's a very very big problem to find people to work. No. Just to give you an idea, in Cabo, where I live right now, an albañil is charging around 6,000 pesos a week. So that's kind of expensive for many other places in Mexico, but that's offer and demand on what's going on. But I don't see yet. I don't see a big effort to make it happen. If that's a question, yes.
CFE and Telcel will not take U.S. debit cards or U.S. credit cards.
Which one? Before Telcel?
Telcel and CFE.
Okay.
Will they take your debit card?
No, but you can pay in our site.
So you have automatic bill pay?
No, you need to check it and then you make the payment. Not automatic yet. We have an app in English, but we're not there yet with the automatic charge.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Question is about CETES. So with recession looming and inflationary pricing upticks in Mexico, what's your financial institution's projection for the rate of return on CETES, which are right now at about 11%?
Well, the CETES rate should start going down. You know, that's the natural, and we saw that in the last Banco de Mexico meeting. That's what we will expect to continue happening. Yeah. What goes on is that if you're in a CETE, then you're tied up with a rate that you tied up. You're already tied up. Okay. So that's the rate you're gonna make. In the difference, if you're in a debt investment fund or short-term investment fund, whatever you'll make the actual rate that is happening every month, but you will also make an equity on the lower of the rates. Yeah. So in this moment, I will go a little bit more into medium-term liquidity fund to make that equity on the next year, year and a half, then go to CETES and have a fixed rate. The thing with CETES is that you enter into an auction, okay? So the highest rate you see is the one that is published, but at the end, you get into an auction where the best offer gets the best rate. So if there's 10 million pesos at 10.20, they're going to get the 10.20, you know, and it goes up when there's no more demand. So it's not so easy to get CETES at the highest rate. I don't know if I answered your question, yeah?
So we had a question emailed in days ago from Chip Roth. I will now read to you. I was told that according to an international tax law, one must pay income tax on his taxes to the country in which she resides most of the year. As an American citizen with a permanent residency status here and in Canada as well, I'm required by Canada to file and pay first to Revenue Canada, though in reality I have to pay the IRS first because my income comes from the U.S. Why doesn't Mexico come after its permanent residences to pay taxes, and are they planning to in the future?
Well, I think Mexico gives a lot of tax benefits right now, and I think it's part of what they're doing, right? In my experience, the U.S. is always first, then comes the other countries. And that's what I've seen, okay? But for example, normally when you open an account in Mexico, you're being asked for your social security number, okay? It's not because a Mexican bank is going to send information to the U.S. It's just because we need to make sure where you're paying your taxes, you know? Here you're going to be taxed anyways, and you can present those taxes in your homeland, and you can get that rate deducted already from your taxes, yeah?
Just to follow up on that question, they allow me the opportunity to pay taxes in Canada and the United States, and I'm going to have some income in Mexico now. You know, between the United States and Canada, there's a tax treaty so that you don't get double taxed. In Mexico, is there some treaty?
Yes.
Because, you know, Canada doesn't count some things that the U.S. does, and you do that, and, you know, you need a CPA to deal with that. But how does that work with Mexico? Is there a real treaty that has specific criteria?
Yeah, it's whatever, let's say Mexico charges you 10% and the US charges you 20%, yeah? So if you can present that you already pay your 10% in Mexico and you're going to be requested to only pay your 10% rest in the US, yeah? Normally, people who does taxes in both countries are more sophisticated, you know, for me or at least as a banker. A lot of people just don't care and they go with the current, but sophisticated people have the things in order, and they have their CPA in Mexico and they have their CPA in the States as well. But in the normal or people that I've seen, they have done it. Whatever they've been charged here, they can deduct it over there. So you don't have double taxation.
A follow-up. Will Activer ever have a Mexican credit card?
If you start a Mexican credit score, you can have your credit card, but we still don't have credit card. I hope we had, you know, credit card and mortgages. It's a big business.
Does Activer have any type of insurance for us that invest or put our money into your bank?
Yes.
And what is that?
In Mexico, you have an insurance based in UDIs, which is Unidad de Inversión. And right now it's around 3.4 million pesos, but it varies through time. And UDI, it is also an instrument created to come up with inflation. So it adds to the inflation every month or every year. So you're protected by the government of 3.4 million pesos. And also, if you own securities, the securities are deposited in the Indeval, which is like the custodian, and it's also a government organism. And so whatever happens to any bank in Mexico, if you're invested, the securities are in another depository, okay? In any bank, I mean, my advice will be don't hold cash. Cash is the most dangerous in a hack or in something that happens to you. You cannot recuperate it in any Mexican bank, okay? So try to have it invested in a pagaré, in a fund, whatever you can, but try to have your money invested.
Another question from Chip was that do interest rates and conversion fees differ significantly from bank to bank in Mexico? And then part of that is how do you avoid investing and being on the wrong side of the peso fluctuation against the dollar?
Well, with the fluctuation, you have to be an active investor or be advised by a personal advisor, you know. That it's very hard to keep up with it because, I mean, if you guys enjoying your walking through the city, you're not thinking about the exchange rate, right? I mean, at some point you do when you need to pay stuff, but that's not in your daily head. And what was the first one?
Do conversion rates vary greatly
Yes.
from bank to bank?
They vary a lot, a lot. Um, in Mexico, banking is like a niche business, okay? Like, for example, we're in the investing niche. And for me, or for us to give a better exchange rate means my customer is going to have more capital to invest, you know? So at the end, my way to charge fees on that is very different on what other banks do because they're not into wealth management. They're into exchange rate, no? So that's kind of their business is exchange rate. So it varies a lot. Yeah.
Any other questions? Super. Well, we would love to present you with.
You can do that.
This nifty booze holding device. Join me in thanking our guests, please. And Bernardo has indicated that he's going to loiter around here. So if you have any more granular questions or want to speak personally, then that opportunity is coming henceforth.